We now move on over to the east of the continent, and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has vowed to overhaul state-owned energy companies after a $100 million corruption scandal. The scandal has engulfed the energy sector, hitting a country already reeling from Russian attacks on power facilities. Zelenskyy has ordered full audits and management changes, including a new supervisory board for the state nuclear company Energoatom within the next week. Reforms are also planned for oil and gas giant Naftogaz, the gas transmission system and hydropower company Energoatom. Several top officials linked to Zelenskyy are implicated, including ministers and a former business partner. Two ministers have resigned, and this scandal has raised fresh questions about Zelenskyy's commitment to fighting corruption. Joining us now is Julia Kazdabina. She is a senior fellow at the Ukrainian Prism, joining us live from the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv. Thank you very much, Julia, for joining us here on NewsX World. Is Volodymyr Zelenskyy doing enough to tackle corruption? And how are the Ukrainian people feeling about this? Of course, Ukraine has a desire to join the European Union, of which these corruption scandals appearing is a challenging sign to that. What more can you tell us?
Well, of course, the revelation has been devastating because the recent Russian attacks have led to people spending 12 hours a day without electricity. And when you're hearing on these recordings that these people who are supposed to actually ensure that you have electricity, you hear them discussing that it's not worthwhile spending money on defenses to make sure that Russia cannot the Russian hits are not efficient when they target Ukrainian electricity infrastructure. And you hear them discussing that it's not worth spending the money on it. And at the same time, you see that they're building these luxurious homes for themselves. This is devastating. But on the other hand, it's also giving hope, because we understand that the energy sector in Ukraine has been corrupt. I mean, media and anti-corruption activists have spoken and written about it for many, many years. And many people have made their fortunes off the corruption in the Ukrainian energy sector. And so the fact that this has been documented by Ukrainian anti-corruption agencies, and that it has become public, and that it has created such big scandal in the midst of the war, when the Ukrainian government is so much dependent on Western support, it gives hope that finally this is going to be resolved. And it looks like President Zelenskyy is making the right steps. First and foremost, the two ministers, the former energy minister, who is now the justice minister, and the current energy minister, they're like more than 100% confidence that they're going to be dismissed by the Verkhovna Rada, by the parliament. And Zelenskyy is cleaning the system of their appointees, because all those recordings, they indicate very clearly that many corrupt individuals were appointed to key positions in the Ukrainian energy system. And also, hopefully, it's going to lead to the situation where there will be new rules established in this sphere. So it's going to be more transparent, and this transparency is going to enable Ukraine to move closer to the European Union, which is the goal. And civil society is watching President Zelenskyy very closely. Of course, there are different trends. There are those who try to exploit the situation and call for Zelenskyy's resignation, which would lead to chaos. And these people are egged on by former Ukrainian officials who fled to Russia, and who are now trying to promote Russian narratives, and they call for people to come to protests. And there was an attempt to gather a protest yesterday in downtown Kyiv, and that was not successful. Very few people came. And those who are politically active and who understand how serious the situation is, they are working on coming up with specific decisions that can be made to resolve the situation, understanding that Zelenskyy cannot be re-elected right now, and understanding that he must make the decisions if the country is to survive. And so, of course, it's probably not easy for him, and many believe that what he's doing is not sufficient, but we'll see. I mean, he seems to be warming up to the right decisions, because initially the first reaction was very sort of reserved, and there were accusations that this was some sort of a manipulation, and but now he seems to be moving into the right direction.
And Julia, of course, many critics who from the West and beyond who debate whether the Western powers should be sending money to Ukraine. They often cite what they call entrenched corruption within the Ukrainian government. Does this signal that Zelenskyy is doing enough, or are those cries, do you believe, still going to echo around those conversations?
Well, the cries will definitely echo. I mean, there are enough of those who are opposed to helping Ukraine, and enough of those who are Russian influence agents who are there to specifically make sure that Ukraine's position is weakened. So those cries will definitely echo, but we will see. What happens. I mean, so far, President Zelenskyy is making decisions, and we'll see who's going to replace those appointees, the current appointees. So whether or not those are going to be people with a clean reputation. Also, we will see whether there will be some decisions related to the Ukrainian law enforcement, because in Ukraine we have this big sort of fight between the new anti-corruption and agencies and the old law enforcement agencies, which traditionally have been sort of a arm of the Ukrainian government to go after political opponents. And so, I mean, but this is the time, I mean, probably the best time when decisions can be made, and so we will see how Zelenskyy does. So far, it's difficult to say before all of the decisions take effect and before we see what has changed. It's not enough. Not enough has happened to evaluate the effects of what it does.
Yes, Julia Kazdabina, thank you very much for joining us here on the programme. Pleasure to have you on, and we will, of course, bring you all the updates when it comes out of Ukraine as soon as we get them. Now we move on, and the President of Finland, Alexander Stubb, has said that a ceasefire in Ukraine is unlikely before the spring, and European allies need to keep up support despite the corruption scandal which has engulfed the country. Stubbs added that Europe will require sisu, a Finnish word meaning endurance, resilience and grit, to get through the winter months as Russia continues its hybrid attacks. This comes after the Ukrainian military has reported striking an oil refinery in Russia's Saratov region, while the Russian Defense Ministry has stated that their forces have captured Rivnofila and Malatomachaka in the eastern of the country. Now we move on. And thousands of people have protested in